there as a builder, investor. So my name is Jacob. I'm a GP at Superscript. We're an early stage crypto fund based out of Singapore. We were seeded by Temasek. And we've been investing for 2 years now across various projects in Asia as well as the US. So over to you, Sean.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
My name is Sean. I'm the general partner at Artichoke Capital. We're an early stage fund, also based out of Singapore. We launched the fund in 2022, but it's sort of an institutionalization of what we've been doing since 2014. And so we're here always looking for interesting projects and teams that are building something interesting.
Hello everyone, Cecilia here. Actually, I manage two funds. So one is called Formless Capital. It's my own boutique fund investing across Web3 and Web2 projects. Also managing, I think if you guys know the Mask token. So actually I'm managing the Mask Eagle fund as well. So we invest into early projects, help the founder to build from 0 to 1. So we have various portfolios in Asia and in the US, nearly cover all the aspects of the blockchain area. So happy to talk to you and support you in the future.
My name is Nicole. I come from Linfeng Innovation Fund. I'm the partner there. We started in 2022 as well. We have about 28 portfolio companies. We focus on early stage and then we re-up along the way until the project gets listed. We don't really have any preferred sector. We are interested in anything that makes sense. I guess our strong suit is more like doing a lot of portfolio support. We're very good in terms of marketing, tokenomics design. We have a lot of experience in terms of like Web3 products and get listed on centralized exchange. Hopefully can provide some insights for whoever wants to get some Asian perspective.
All right, so we've traveled a long way to be here. Asia is pretty much on the other side of the world, 14, 18, 20 hours away. Why? Like, why would you even think about building there? Why is it important? What is it about the Asian market, guys, that is great?
Like, starting with me?
Or anyone. We'll jump in.
Well, for obvious reason, Asia is gigantic. China is about 1.3 billion population. India is like huge as well. Now they surpass China's population already. And then I guess most important, what I like about like Asian culture is that people has very high risk tolerance, and also we are quite technical in a way. Like we were kind of forced to learn a lot of math, and so crypto is something quite attuned. Like for example, I used to work in the largest exchange for crypto. When you calculate the ARPU value, Asian market is really impressive. They are like literally 100x of Turkey, of that's in Nigeria. The reason being people trade a lot of contracts and they understand it. And they have their own peg and they study the projects and so on. So if you want to build quality projects that has a lot of liquidity, I think Asia is definitely the go-to place. And other than that, I guess the other panelists can cover more. Maybe pass over to Cecilia.
Oh, yeah, so I think if you think about Asia, what do we have, right? We have people. So we have a lot of people across the various different countries. And just back to Nicole's point, we like to bet, we like to invest, and we have, I think, the highest amount of a saving account in our pockets. So if you ask a lot of like US people, so what's your, if anything urgent happen, do you have enough saving, to cover it? So I think I read the data. A lot of the spending behavior is different. So here spend in advance, and you spend for the future, and then you pay credit cards, right? But in our Asian culture, we accumulate, we save. So we have a lot of dry powder on the side to deploy. And also, I think a lot of you maybe is the infra or application builder, right? Or wallets builder. So what do you want? What do you want to make to your next, to get a VC for next funding? You need momentums. you need users, right? You need attractions. So where to get those attractions? You need to go to the place where they have users, and also user with a spending behaviors and a user with a lower education cost. So that's why I think Asia is the best place, because we are so used to use Alipay, use WeChat, we play with TikTok, anything in our life is already digital. So I think the education cost is actually very low. And beyond that, we are one of the core dev center as well. But I think I will leave the other panelists to cover the points.
Yeah, I think Nicole and Cecilia covered most of it, but just like a quick stat, right? So in terms of just sheer number of people, obviously Asia is large, over half of the world's population. But in terms of like Web3 native people who own crypto already,
Yep.
I think the stat is somewhere around 250 million people, right, that own crypto, and that's like I think 6% penetration, less penetrated than the US as an example. So, the pool is already there, but it's also growing very quickly. So I think that's very exciting if you're a builder.
Yeah, so my perspective is the following, right? When you think about Web3, it's the internet, it's global. You could launch a protocol, and if you do it right, you have a good product and a great community, you can go from 0 users to millions in weeks, in months, and so on, right? And someone had mentioned it before, Asia's got a lot of people. It will have the best chance of helping your protocol or product go viral if you are able to tap into that market, capture the zeitgeist and imagination of the people there. A couple of things I just want to flash up as well. This has mostly been touched on, but from a numbers perspective, someone had mentioned there's billions of people in Asia, it's like 4 billion, half the world's population. That's over half the world's GDP as well, right? And when you take that population number and you tap it into the savings comment that was made, that's quite a bit of a force multiplier. You have high population with savings that are willing to enter into liquidity pools, that are willing to play around with tokens and enter communities. And I think, Sean, you brought up this point about penetration. I'm not sure if you want to say any more about that, but...
Self-explanatory.
Yeah. Largest population, largest number of crypto users, but the penetration rate is still relatively low in Asia. So the ceiling is very high, essentially. There was someone that mentioned something around developers, because developers are at the core and the lifeblood of crypto. What have you guys seen in terms of the developer talent within Asia?
So I maybe go first to answer this question. So I think, ironically, so several top tier, CK were like infras. So the main dev team is either in China or either like built by Chinese developer. So they are really the team behind the scene. Same for gaming area as well. So a lot of the very famous projects we know, either they are purely built and launched by the Asian team, such as Axie, such as some others. Pixel, who just got listed on Binance as well. But also I see a lot of other big AAA games. Actually, their dev shop is in Vietnam. So I think Asia is really a very high density of talents, and comparatively the production cost is comparatively low as well. So I think if your project is looking for talents or looking for ideas, there's actually a very good base of dev base in Asia.
Yeah, I think if you look at the chart, right, so obviously compensation for engineers in Asia is lower. Doesn't mean the quality is worse. Actually, there's a lot of very talented developers in Asia. And I think this is something that's pretty exciting about crypto as an industry in general. I think this is the first industry that is actually truly global, where there's no one single hub of talent. I mean, if you just look around, there's people flying in from everywhere. And so I think the best teams are able to sort of compose their team with the right mix of talent around engineers and teams based in the US and Europe and Asia. And you're able to sort of get the best of all worlds and have a 24/7 team working on stuff all the time.
Yeah, I guess like just one more point to add. So right now, like crypto adoption is really at infancy. If we talk about developers, we're probably like less than 0.1% of the whole developer community. In China, it's like really huge. Like this kind of tech companies, like Alibaba, Tencent, TikTok, even. So these companies, they actually hire pan Asia, and like for example, Alibaba has a huge arm in Singapore covering the ASEAN area. So they have the tradition to train and groom high quality developers to build better products. And these guys, right, they can be easily converted, like a Rust engineer, like React JS, whatever these guys. Right, if you ask them to code Solidity, it's a piece of cake. So I'm saying if we're talking about like growth for the global developer community for Web3 and crypto, we should definitely focus on the Asia developer pool.
Awesome. So I know that we've kind of generalized Asia right now, right? So you're hearing, okay, it's low cost of living, there's a lot of great developers, there's a lot of people, but Asia is a huge place, and there are a lot of different countries, a lot of different regions. So if you're a builder, if you're an investor, let's go through some of the different countries and their characteristics and like how we would break them down. And maybe we can start with Korea, if anyone wants to tackle that.
Yeah, Korea as an example is pretty interesting. If you think about gaming as an example, the gaming industry is huge in Korea. And actually, there's several very large traditional gaming companies that are now investing very heavily in the crypto ecosystem, just because they see the sort of the promise and potential that this new technology can bring to the industry. And so, it's a very sort of tech savvy and very, very digitally native market. So, it's there's a lot of interesting things in Korea. I encourage you, if you're interested, to go head out and check out Korea Blockchain Week towards the end of the year.
I will add a couple of things to that because I know a lot of Korean people. My wife being one of them. Okay. So there is a culture of risk-taking in Korea a little bit. Society-wise, it takes a lot to succeed there. And so there's a bit more of that entrepreneurial edge when it comes to crypto. I think some of the largest protocols have been launched in Korea. Some of them have not done so well either. But it's that culture of getting involved. There's really high penetration rates in Korea as well because they have some of the best and fastest broadband. So being digital is actually built into their culture. And so I think that's a really great geography in terms of finding people who are well versed in crypto, DeFi, and as Sean mentioned, sort of gaming as well as IP, right? Given all of the content that comes out of Korea. Should we move on to another one, or do you guys want to add?
I guess like gaming is a very good example. Like there's a project called WeMix. I think a while ago, like FTX invested a long time ago. Even though that doesn't do well, right? I'm just talking about like the size of like Korea gaming industry. So that project is probably not even like 0.001% of their revenue. So the company, like this crypto project behind it is actually a gigantic gaming company called WeMade. So what's interesting is that like they, unlike other traditional tech companies, they really cherish their feather. They worry about their reputation. I think Korea has higher tolerance, even though for big names and brands. So yeah, like as a fact, I actually know that WeMade has a huge arm of Web3 team. So yeah, just like one small example to add over here.
Yeah. So I will just add several points on Korea. Then I will talk about maybe Hong Kong and part of Singapore. I will leave Jacob to fully cover Singapore as well. So I think Korea, yeah, indeed. Back to Nicole's point, nearly all the big company that I know, we invest in the Clayton. We also know Lion. So the Korean Lion, the chat app, the Korean arm is also building, Elixon is a game chain as well. And also Come to Us, which is a big cross-border, both Korea and a US publishing firm. So they are building their game chain as well. So I think if your team is building any gaming infrastructure, looking either for funding or partnership, I think all of them are quite open. So you can easily approach them So I will talk about Hong Kong and Singapore as well. So we will leave China alone. So because it's kind of gray in China, but I think in China we cannot do crypto. It's still banned. But just a lot of team, if they do want to do Web3, they need to came out of China to either build or set up a separate foundation. But I think alternatively, Hong Kong really sees the this opportunity, right? Because in the recent years, Singapore took a lot of business from Hong Kong. So on the traditional business side and also entertainment side. So Hong Kong really want to sign Taylor Swift, but can't because Singapore just signed an exclusive deal for the concert. So
With a Taylor Swift concert, right?
yeah. So I think the Singapore government is really fast because they are independent. They can make the decision very fast. So take away a lot of business from Hong Kong. So that's why Hong Kong is saying we are the traditional, we are the old financial center. How we do about it? What do we do about it? So then they are very welcoming crypto people to be back. So they recently just give several licenses to some of our partners, right? Hashkey and some other, OSL on the crypto exchange license. And they are building a tech center to welcome all the talents and the teams to build in Hong Kong. Actually, if you want to find a venue, if you find development grants, Hong Kong government is very welcoming to support you to build your center there. But on this other side, I think Singapore changed the mind from very open to crypto, but a little bit conscious due to the FTX situation. But also if you think about the character, right? So Singapore just launched new rules about crypto. They don't allow you staking. They don't allow you to borrow to invest as well, because I think that's just the character of Singapore government. They are very efficiency, but also a risk control driven. So, but I will leave Jacob to cover the all character of the Singapore side.
So we've kind of gone from large countries like Korea to city-states, kind of like Hong Kong and Singapore. When you think about city-states, they're more likely and quick to legislate, put into rules and frameworks, because it's like an experiment, right? I think one of the great things about Hong Kong is that they are experimenting and they are opening up. They've realized, like many other regimes around the world, that stable coins are the real crypto that's got product market fit, right? Because that's how you then onboard into other crypto. And so they're building a framework around that. The same thing in Singapore as well. Government-wise, they are very efficient. They are very well-versed on blockchain technologies. The Monetary Authority of Singapore is also putting some of these guidelines in. I think what both of these places are is that they are a hub for talent. They have high cost of living, so you typically won't see a lot of developers there, but you might see some project leads there, or business development leads, or marketing, because everyone's kind of situated in these high-density cities and locations. That said, what I can see from slightly different approaches here is that Hong Kong has sort of opened up exchanges for consumer retail, whereas Singapore is a little bit more cautious on that, right? And that's, as Cecilia had mentioned, is more a risk controls perspective. But if you're a crypto project and you want to build and situate yourself in Singapore, you have a lot of sort of government support. It's very easy to set up companies. And there's very sort of clear rules and legislation for people to come in and set up there as well. It also doesn't stop you from using exchanges, but of course it's buyer beware. And I think they're not going to necessarily promote it, but they are supportive of the industry in general. Do you want to add anything? Okay. One more region that we didn't touch on was we showed a graph earlier where there was high cost of living and low cost of living. But we've literally just talked about the high cost of living countries like Korea, Japan, Singapore, and Hong Kong. So what about the other countries? Because we now know that DevCon is going to be in Thailand this coming year, which is very exciting. So what about those countries and their crypto ecosystems?
Yeah, I guess, when you talk about crypto, there's a few different sort of types of crypto, right? It depends on what you're building. If you're building something that's like sort of financial crypto, financial intermediaries, stable coins, exchanges, then the places you want to be are places like Singapore and Hong Kong. But Singapore and Hong Kong are both like small population places, right? They're very, very expensive places to live and so on. The rest of Asia, if you're looking for users, say you're building a consumer app or a social app or a game, I mean, there's lots of examples of previously very, very successful, Web3 games that have gone viral, and most of them sort of like seeded really in Southeast Asia, right? Places like Vietnam, the Philippines, Thailand, and so these are all places where Asia really has like a, to points made earlier by both Nicole and Cecilia, there's a population that's very interested to try new things and willing to experiment. And they're already onboarded into the crypto ecosystem and sort of maybe have wallets or understand how you play some of these on-chain things. And sort of the other very large sort of market that I don't think we've spoken enough about so far is India, right? So it's going to be probably the biggest country with the biggest population in Asia soon. India and crypto exchanges have a sort of shaky relationship. But the funny thing is, every time the crypto exchanges sort of get banned in India, the grassroots adoption of crypto goes up. And so again, it's a very young population, very digitally native, a lot of developer talent, and a lot of users. And so all super exciting sort of places. And again, depends on what type of product you're building and what you're looking for.
Then I will maybe mention Vietnam in this sense. I think Vietnam is a long-lasting already dev center for a lot of gaming company in China and Japan before. But now I think they develop and find out Web3. So actually there are a lot of like gaming studios in Vietnam, and they have built or launched quite several very successful Web3 game as well. And on the other side, as Da Nang is we call like Eastern Hawaii, cheaper Hawaii. So actually you have the best whale and the best DJ community there. Actually, we know a lot of like retired, we're a lot of solo trader, with solo DJ, we're liquidity provider, market maker there. So actually you can easily find either like a very young, tech-driven building communities, but also as well as a very sophisticated DJ trader, where like a DJ users for your projects as well. So I think, and I really like Da Nang. It's cheap and very comfortable. So really recommend to explore Vietnam. We are sad to say because of the policy issue of China, but basically they are saying Ho Chi Minh is the rising Shanghai. Sadly to say it, but it's the rising new Shanghai in Asia. Actually, a lot of Western people, if they get out of Shanghai, they move to Hanoi, they move to Ho Chi Minh. So I think Vietnam definitely a very dynamic country to look into.
Yeah, I think my friends cover most of it. This is really informative. I guess one more thing I want to cover is actually people are liquid. Even though the team is probably, they say Indian native or they say Vietnamese, Chinese native, they could be based everywhere. I think these days I see a trend that a lot of Indian teams, very high quality developers, they actually move to Dubai. I think one of the good examples is actually Polygon team. They actually brought a lot of like kind of their influence and network over there. So it's a very good area that you can actually find your fellow kind of developers, soulmates, co-founder, however you call it, and also a good place to find capital. I think Dubai right now already have some sort of like Web3 kind of like hub, a go-to destination. Like if you guys interested, you should definitely check it out. And then to echo Cecilia, I think Vietnam has also very kind of systematic way of funding early stage products. They have many VCs over there. Like they can help you to reintroduce local resources, and they are all extremely helpful.
Okay, so we've basically spoken to this wonderful audience for about 20 minutes about how amazing Asia is. Now, what are some of the downsides, right, of the region? Like, what are some of the things that people should be wary about in this space?
Well, yeah, I'll start then. I think some of the elements actually make it quite interesting. I'm gonna pick Japan as an example. So I have a lot of portfolio companies actually have a big Japanese community. So if you guys want to explore Japanese community, you can check out a few like a local organization. One is called Kudasai. One is like YGG Japan. They have like very good local media as well. It's called CoinPost. So all these guys will introduce you this kind of amazing Japanese users who are the best diamond hands in the world. The reason being, Japan has very crazy capital gain tax on crypto. It's actually up to 55%. That's why a lot of like Japanese investors or like this kind of influencers also relocate to this Singapore or Dubai. But that being said, like Japanese users themselves, right? They are more like spot traders and they purchase a lot of IP because of the culture, right? We all know Japanese is famous for all kinds of animations and other entertainment stuff. Yeah, so this is definitely your go-to market if you want to have a very successful NFT launch or game launch. Yeah.
So I think I will echo that, but also add like a language barrier, right? For Japan, if you want to do business, you need someone local and also comparatively senior. So if you just go, if your team member go to see a Japan counterparty, basically they will talk to the person look the most senior on the team. So I think it's just the engine of their culture. You really need to respect that and to do business in their way to open the door of different venue. And also I think in both China and Korea, because we have a long history of Ponzi, Ponzi business, you know, very organized Ponzi group there. So you really need to be careful. So that's why we are here, you know.
Yeah.
If you are looking for helpful VCs, really we are very happy to take a reference. We're giving advices who you should talk to and giving due diligence on some counterparties, right? Some contacts you have, knock your door to. Let's say I can get you listed on Korea or China or whatever. So a lot of like maybe scammer-ish people there. So very happy to help. I think my point is to respect the rules and find the best resources to do it in their own way.
Yeah, just on that point, I think what Cecilia is referring to is that it's not necessarily specific to Asia. I think it's specific to the world, right? Yeah. And when you think about tokens jumping in value very quickly, markets being manipulated, some of these practices are very prevalent everywhere, but some of them have been perfected in Asia as well. So, I think it is important if you are a builder and a team that's building for the long term, trying to build something of value that's not just about tokens being launched in the next 6 to 12 months. Like if you have a vision, then you just need to make sure that you are connected with the right teams, the right capital providers, the right partners, the right BD, the right support network in the region.
Yeah, I think, again, a very practical sort of perspective around like if you're a builder, founder, you're trying to grow an Asian presence either for go-to-market or to build out an Asian team. I think the big challenge is Asia is pretty fragmented. Right, so as a whole, it's a very large population, but Singapore, Hong Kong, Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Thailand, all of these countries all have their own sort of like local courts and sort of networks. And trying to go to Asia as like a single region is not easy. And managing a developer team that is maybe not super fluent or super native in English can be a challenge. And so how do you sort of build that global workforce with some sort of level of like efficient communication when you're sort of like 12 hours apart, right? So, I think there's a lot of interesting lessons to be learned around how you build out your on-the-ground sort of presence, local offices, and who you try to hire to manage the teams on the ground. So, again, I guess that's where talk to anyone on the stage and happy to help.
And one more challenge I need to throw in there is the time zone difference with the US is killer. So, it's always like late night calls, but that is what it is. So just to finish up, we've already touched on quite a few of these points, right? Just being connected to the right people. But let's talk a little bit quickly about what are the tips to build in Asia? If people in the audience want to build, if they want to set up a presence there, like where do they start?
You talk to anyone on this stage, right? Like I think anyone on this stage will be able to help you, whichever market you pick in Asia, to get you in touch with the right, BD candidates, lawyers, incorporation, legal advice, regulatory advice, whatever, right? Like the hard thing sometimes about building a crypto is that every time you set up somewhere new, you got to sort of think about like regulatory stuff, even if you're not really doing like a financial product. And so, talking to someone who's sort of on the ground and present and understands the local issues and challenges is probably going to save you a lot of time and heartache.
Yeah, I would add one thing is that Web3 is global, right? There are a lot of builder communities everywhere. You'll meet a lot of great teammates or people, some from Asia, some from different parts of Asia. Just connect it to them, and they will literally connect you to their local communities. So for us at Superscript, we run like an open office Friday, every Friday, where we invite our friends on stage, as well as a whole bunch of builders to come in and work from our WeWork office. And there's tons of those communities in Singapore, same for the rest of Hong Kong, Vietnam, Thailand, China. So that's another way to break in. Just start speaking to people that are already here. They've literally come to you in Denver, and you'll be very easily and quickly plugged in.
Yeah, like also, if you guys are interested in relocating your family to Asia as well, I think the governments, like especially Hong Kong and Singapore, they have like great programs. Like Singapore, for example, they have this kind of like special venture capital or like a fund list that can help you sponsor EP easily, which is employment plus. And then you can actually get your whole family settled in Singapore, which is really friendly for family life. And then for Hong Kong, there's a program called Cyberport. They actually provide free office spaces. They give you grant. I have a few portfolio who are in that program as well. What's really amazing is that the Hong Kong government really take you for a different area for roadshow. They send you to Dubai, Middle East area. They take you to Africa. And most recently, one of my portfolio company even got connected with .com, which is like the largest. It's like the AT&T of Japan. This is all like established by government relationships, and this is extremely helpful. Yeah.
And I think they cover more. And I also want to add, Singapore and Hong Kong have no capital gain tax.
Oh yeah, that's the best thing.
I think that's the best. I was based in San Francisco before. That's, I think, one of the big reasons I moved to there, right? And also, I think we're run out of time. But I think Asian VCs were like very, normally comparatively very hands-on and very involved in a lot of project development. And also, I think a lot of major players, right, or major venues are actually built by Asian founder. So I think to bridge the information gap, Asian VC can be very helpful on your future, either projects development or either your token launching, token listing as well. So do, talk to Asian VCs. We will be more helpful to take your hand to go further.
Awesome, guys, thank you. Thank you, wonderful audience, for listening to us. And yeah, if you want to find out more about Asia, come chat to us.